Hello everyone. So I'm a hypnotist, hypnotherapist and coach. And in 2020 I hit rock bottom with my mental health. I had PTSD, depression, and I was just as low as you could go. Come end of the year, it all just come to an end then. I thought I'll have the last Christmas with my family, and then when I go back to work I'm going to stick the work van under a lorry and be done with it. And in my head at the time it was a completely rational decision. It was now it seems far-fetched, it seems over the top and all that, but at the time it was a rational decision to make. It started off 2014, my dad had got cancer and we had 2 years with him as he was trying to fight it and stuff like that and all the stresses that come with that. And then when he died at home, and at the time I just remember sitting there watching him for 15 hours slowly taking his last few breaths. So that image in my head stayed with me, and over the years it built up and built up, and I got PTSD from that, and I also owned my own business at the time, and the stress of that was building up and building up. I tell my clients to imagine they've got a stress bucket in their head or a pressure cooker, something like that, and all the shit of life goes in this bucket and eventually it will overflow. And if it's down to trauma, we will get the last thing that does tip this bucket over will be the one, the image that's stuck in our mind with the negative emotions linked to it. Now, the brain can't tell the difference between thought and reality. So when we think about something, we feel it. Every time I thought about that event, which also a memory is a lie, the brain will twist it, turn it, change things. So in a month or two's time, if you all think about us being in here now, you might think of her fleece being blue, not pink, or he might be wearing a jumper or a shirt, and the brain will do stuff like that. It will also manipulate things because when you're that stressed out, when you're in your primitive mind, your survival mind, it just wants to protect you. And by making you miserable, you stay inside, you don't go out where it sees things as dangers. I travelled the country delivering bedroom furniture. That was my job. And hated where I worked, hated everything about it. I was diagnosed wrongly type 2 diabetic. And that was the health implications of that was having an effect. And come the Christmas time in 2020, I went to my auntie's house. My uncle had just died as well. And I never told anybody how I was feeling. I just was miserable. And I had always had this thing where I could make a joke of it, become like a moaning, miserable old person, and people would laugh at me, And if you ever seen the royal family, people used to say I was like Jim Royal because I'd just be miserable and moaning, and people would laugh. Only the people that worked with me every day knew how bad I was, sort of thing. But I was manning up, I was dealing with things and dealing with nothing really. My auntie just happened to mention about a hypnotherapist she's seen a few years before. And to this day, I don't know why I rang him, because I never bothered looking for help anywhere else. And I found him. And as soon as I spoke to him on the phone, I just felt this connection with him. And I went for a session with him. And I remember when we finished, I opened my eyes and I just stared at the floor for what felt like an hour. It must have just been about 30 seconds or something. And I just looked at him and I just says, "What have you done?" Like, this image that was in my mind that was causing me so much pain, so much suffering for all these years, I could now think of it like that. It was just an image. I knew that that's what I wanted to do for a career then. I wanted to help people. So I went off, did my training, and for the past year and a bit, I've been helping people with depression, anxiety and PTSD. I also remove allergies, food intolerances and phobias. as well as all the other things that come from it. So I build confidence for people, I get them to accept themselves, get them and all that. I love what I do. I love helping people. There is a stigma, a misconception about hypnosis, which isn't helped by people in my profession. I'm a hypnotist. I do shows, I do parties, and I do therapy. It's the same. Hypnosis is hypnosis. I put people into hypnosis because the brain doesn't work in words, it works in pictures, colours, and algorithms. So we have to think of pictures. Everything is a picture. So whatever you do now, don't think of a red apple. Well, you have to think of a red apple because the label is red apple. The brain links the words red apple to red apple, and bang, there it goes. Don't think of that red apple now as a blue bus. Now you're all thinking of a blue bus. And that's what happens. Even the things we see, it's converted into an image in the mind. The brain then decides whether it's a threat or not. When we're stressed out, our brain perceives more things as a threat than what it needs to. That's because your little part of your brain is called your amygdala. From the moment you're born to the moment you die, it's going like that. And everything you see, your amygdala sees as a danger. And you've got two other parts of your brain, your hippocampus and your hypothalamus. One sorts out the patterns, one sorts out your emotions. So when we're thinking about a traumatic event, or maybe you've got a phobia, and when you think about whatever it is that the phobia is of, the brain will want to react as if it's happening now. So the amygdala will see the image in your brain, it'll go, oh shit, there's a spider, whatever. Your hippocampus will say, right, this is how we reacted last time, we screamed and ran. Your hypothalamus will then give you the emotions to do that. You know, in this country, we're pretty safe when it comes to spiders and that sort of thing. So the fear response isn't needed. And that's what I take away. I take away the fear response for phobias. I take away the negative feelings, emotions from traumatic events of people's past. Once it's happened, it's happened. We can't change the past. Depression, PTSD is just that. It's a negative image, a negative emotion to an image that's happened. Anxiety is a negative emotion linked to an image that we've made up. That meeting at work, that doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, it hasn't happened yet. So we're sitting there shitting ourselves thinking, oh, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And all that. Well, we've made that up because it's not happened. So I teach people to change that image around. And if there's an image from the past that's really causing some trauma, some bad negativity, that's what we do. Put them in hypnosis. I'll get them to think of it with cartoon characters, funny music, whatever it is, just to destroy that image so they no longer have the emotion linked to it. So the mind, put me off now. So the mind works in two ways. You've got your conscious mind, which is now the voices in our heads, like the thought process, our conscious thing of, right, I'm going to pick this card up, sort of thing. Subconscious mind, your emotional mind, is what, while you're all here drinking or eating, it's getting all your organs to work, your muscles to work, without giving it thought. The emotional side will always win. Any conflict between emotion and intellect, emotion will always win. That's why when we have depression, when we suffer from the trauma, that sort of thing, that'll always go, right, now you're staying in, you're doing this, you're doing that. And even though logically you think, well, I'm being stupid, why don't I just go down the shop, I'm fine. Your brain will go, no, fuck that, I'm sitting in here. And that's what I like to help. So when in hypnosis, we bypass the amygdala, so you don't have the fear response. We bypass the conscious mind, so that little voice in your head can't tell you, no, no, no. I then find the real version of you and bring it out. That version of you that we let people's negative comments and our own negative comments push to the back of our minds. That's where the real us lives. And that's what I bring out there. Hypnosis as well is just imagination, focus, and that's all. By using the imagination, as I said before, what we feel is what we think is what we feel. By using the imagination, we can do all sorts of things to help. When I remove allergies and food intolerances, for example, that's caused because the brain sends the wrong reaction out to what's in our system. So when we have an allergic reaction, it's because we have two ways of dealing with things. If a virus gets into us, our immune system sends one part down to sort it out. If a dead particle gets into us for pollen, whatever, it sends out another part. When it gets the wrong one, and it sends the one out for viruses into a dead particle, that's when it blows it up and we get our histamine reaction. So the brain's made a mistake. It sees this thing as a threat. And we have this histamine reaction then to say, no, come on, let's go away. I just reprogram the brain to have a better reaction, to have the right reaction. And that's how that works there. And it's all the same. I just deal with the images in the mind, get you to think better, get you to reprogram your mind. Because what the brain does is a good thing really badly. Lets all those bad images take over. Now, the brain has to think negatively for our survival. If we all went about thinking everything's happy, joyy, we'd all be in a lot of trouble, because it's not. So we have to be wary. You know, anxiety is there to stop us from running into the road and getting squashed by a car. It's there to stop us from, to keep us, it's there to keep us alive, basically. It's not there to stop us from doing things that we need to do in our lives. And by visualizing yourself doing these things you want to do, you're doing them. And your brain will have a different response to if you talk yourself out of not doing something. So, like I said before, hypnosis is just about imagination and focus. So, if you want to, I just want you to put your hands together like so. That's it. And I just want you to interlock your fingers, keep your thumbs out the way, and just put your index fingers out an inch or two apart. Lovely. When your index fingers are out, I just want you to focus in between your fingers. Just focus in between your fingers. And just imagine I've put two magnets on your fingertips. Now, you just watch, just imagine and feel those magnets pulling your fingertips together. Just imagine and just notice. And some of you it'll work for, some of you it won't. That's fine. Because all I'm doing now is looking around the room and just having an idea. I'm not even bothered if your fingers move or not. I'm just looking at the people who's full of focus. Okay, you can put your hands down now. That's fine. So, some people's fingers go like that. Some people's stay like that. I have to work with different people, so I test to see where we go. Everyone can go into hypnosis. Everybody does go into hypnosis some multiple times in the day. We have to. Best way I explain it is, imagine you're driving or you're reading a book or watching a movie and you sat there and all of a sudden you drift off into your own little world. And you can hear the words on the telly, and you're still going along in your book or whatever, and you drift off and you're there in the book, you're there in the TV show. That's hypnosis. Because when we're asleep, that's when we process the stuff of the day and things that we need to process, things we've learned, things we need to get rid of. And but when our stress bucket's full, we can't sleep enough, because to do that uses energy. So we wake up. So we've done our bit for the night, we wake up, because we're now burning ourselves out in our sleep. We then think, oh, I'm not getting enough sleep at night, I want to sleep more. So people with bad depression will then want to sleep all day and stay in the house and just not do anything. We in hypnosis, that is the part just before sleep. So we're still alert. We're still, we can do what we need to do if we need to. But we can process things that we need to process. And as I said, we don't need words. So things that come up will all be different to everybody. I mean, I've had some people come up with some right things when I've put them in. So what I do is I put them into hypnosis, get them to a place in their mind that makes them feel happy, and just tell them to let go of any negative feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, sensations. Get rid of any stress, tension, shame, pain, anger, guilt, frustration. And I just shut up. And their brain then does what it needs to do. It processes their thoughts, their images, whatever's going on in their mind that their mind's making sense of has nothing to do with me. I've had people think they're on a train, and when they've got to the destination, they've got rid of the stuff. I've had people have spirits help them pull negative stuff out. Whatever it is, I'll leave them to it. I bring them out, and then I ask them, did anything come up? Again, I don't need them to go into detail. I'm not a counsellor, I'm a hypnotist. I don't need them to tell me everything. Sometimes people can't explain what the emotion is. They'll say, okay, give it a colour, because it's just a label. So they'll say blue. And then we use the imagination. Then I was like, okay, so I grab the blue and I pull it out. And you can see them go like that, because they've linked that colour and what on the action of me pulling it out to getting rid of it. And it's amazing how it works. It's amazing. And like I say, when I had my first session, I didn't. The only other time I'd experienced hypnosis was, I think I was 13, something like that, in Fuerteventura. And there was a bloke getting someone to do daft stuff on stage. Didn't even appeal to me then. I never thought, oh, that's what I want to do. When I went for my session and it changed my life, that was when I really felt the power of hypnosis. So, anybody got any questions? No? So it is really just a natural state of mind, just focus, imagination, and that's what we use to help us to get better, to help us. I never say the word cure, because depression, anxiety, like I say, we need it. It's a natural thing. What we do is we stay in the relationships that we don't want to be in. We stay in the job we don't want to be in. We do all that crap, and it just builds up and builds up and builds up. And we make excuses for ourselves. You know, I need the money. I can't quit my job. I need to do this. I can't do that. And that's all they are. They're excuses. Now, I knew I hated my job. I knew that if I didn't quit my job, that I would be back to square one before my sessions. So I sold my house. I quit my job. And it took months for the house to go through. But I was training, I was practicing, I then passed, carried on, and I had absolutely no money to my name while I was waiting for this house. And there was times when I thought, oh God, I've made a mistake here. But I carried on and carried on. There was some weeks when I thought I had to either shop for myself or get my dog's food. And there was some weeks I thought I was going to eat my dog. But it was... But I've pushed on and pushed on, and then December time of last year, the house went through and everything, and I paid the ex-wife off, and I set up my business properly, put some money into it, the marketing, and did all that. And all that was a big thing as well for me to learn, you know. But I'm glad I did it, and I could have taught myself out of it, and I didn't. And every moment of it, you know, you felt sometimes you go one step forward, you get two steps back. And even now, you know, I have my clients coming in, but then they look on Facebook and it's all cost of living crisis and blah, and people panic about that. So then my people showing interest dropped off. But then I can think, well, okay, nobody's interested now. Everyone's saving their money. I'm just going to sit here and wait for something to pass. Or I could think, okay, so what do I have to do now to change my situation to get these people back in? Because I know I can help them. I know I can help with the anxiety. I know I can get them to focus on where they want to be 6 months' time, a year's time, and so on and so on. Because not only do I do the hypnosis side of it, I also coach them as well to break down their big goals into small steps so they can imagine you're at a ladder, you're at the bottom of a ladder. You can't just jump up and get to the top of the roof. You have to take each step. And that's what we do. Which again, the issue is never the issue. People come to me with symptoms. Some people come to me with excuses. My husband's snoring is doing my head in. It's got nothing to do with the snoring. It's that they're that stressed out that the brain's now blaming that, because the brain will never blame ourselves. We're the issue. That image in my head that was causing me pain, that was my issue. My depression was my issue. And I got my issue sorted. Nobody else's. It wasn't this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened. It was me. I accepted that. I got help. I get my clients to accept it. I help them. If they're going to sit there and still make the excuses, I'll say, well, that's all they are, excuses. I want you to turn around to me and say, I want to make a change. And we'll do that. We will break each bit down. I've had people come to me because they want to lose weight. Turns out they didn't actually want to lose weight. They wanted to take up swimming. And that's how far apart this, it can all be. I've had people, I can't get to sleep. I haven't had a good night's sleep in months. Sat them down, put them in for the first time, let go of anything. They've come out, turns out that they're full of grief. And that. Now, if I was just talking to them, I would never have known that. They'd have just been focused on the sleep or lack of sleep. Once they're in and that's come out, and it's processed that first bit, then we get to the real issues that's in there. And again, I don't need to know anything. People can come to me and I can see they're in a really bad way and never mention anything to me about what's caused it. I'll just say, right, sit down, put them in, let them do what they need to do. But it's nothing to do with me. It's their issue, it's their problem. I'm not going to make it my problem. They're going to process it how their mind seems fit. So that is basically how hypnosis works, how hypnosis can help the mind, how we can look at ourselves in a more positive way, because if you think positively about yourself, you'll feel positively about yourself. The most important and powerful words you can say to yourself is I can, I am, and I will. If you say that every day to yourself, you will do things. And there's no such word as try. Try means fail to the brain. Try and pick your phone up. Well, now you've picked your phone up. I said try and pick your phone up. Now you're not picking your phone up. There's no in between. You either do it or you don't. So say to yourself, I am going to do this, I will do this, and bloody well go and do it. Because all we have is ourselves, and all that matters is what's up here. Nobody else, nothing else, just our perception. We're the only ones that can feel what we feel. We're the only ones that think what we think. Get your own happiness. That's the main goal in life, to wake up every morning being happy. Whatever that means to you, that's your personal thing. But that's the main goal. That's where we want to be. And I think I'm done rattling on. If everyone's had enough of listening to me, if anybody wants a demonstration, you're more than welcome. I'm in there to the end, doing little bits if anyone's interested or wants to know more or wants to experience it. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. I'm Chris Harrison. Have a good day. Thank you very much.